Hey everyone, it's Johnny, your independent Scentsy consultant. Welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be talking about my warm reviews of the 10 new fragrances for the Spring-Summer catalog of Scentsy. So, I have finally gotten through all of them, not in their full bars, except for like one that I'm warming today, because I love it that much. And I have some thoughts. I think, let me preface this with, these are all my opinions, so you may vary, especially if your preference on fragrance is a little different than mine. And that being said, I also think that overall, it's a fairly good set of 10 fragrances. Sometimes I feel like they're a little bit underwhelming, or like some of them just really are just not performing to the level that I expect. But I think overall, they did pretty well with these 10. So we're going to go through them really quick. I have my catalog here so I can actually read the descriptions. And we'll just talk about them as candidly as possible. So, starting with Banana Leaf and Bamboo. So, Scentsy described this one as juicy, sweet white peach and banana leaf envelop aged bamboo and sheer mahogany. Now, this is a fresh scent. And this definitely performs really well. This is a very nice, fresh scent. You do get a lot of the bamboo. It is a fresh, quite dewy sort of scent. Not quite spa level dewy. So if you think of like Daydream Oasis, where you get that kind of like steam effect of like the spa space, it's not quite like that. It's more of a fresh watery sort of scent. You get a clean crispness to it. And I think what I really love about this is that the mahogany note underneath kind of grounds the fragrance a little bit more. We've had some other bamboo and fresh scent sort of things that are similar to this, and it kind of just was too light noted, and this one kind of has a little bit more of a base to it, and it feels a little bit more well balanced all the way through the warming. It's a great performer. It lasted more than a day. Oh my goodness. The one thing I will say is it's like the banana leaf side of it gives it a little bit more of that green, lush, slightly tropical vibe. It's not quite like a pungent green, but it's definitely there. So just be aware of that if you're a little bit more sensitive to greenery notes. This does have that present, and it's not like a subtle nuance of it. Like you do get that sort of note sort of in the scent as it warms. But overall, beautiful scent. Really love it. It's in my club currently. That's how much I enjoy this. There's a couple bars in here that are in my club. This is one of them. Can definitely recommend that they did well with this one. All right, so that is Banana Leaf and Bamboo. Let's move on. The next one is Lake My Day. Blue bar. And this is refreshing lake waves lap peacefully over crisp bergamot and fresh oak moss. So, this is a more cologne, zesty, not quite super zesty. That's maybe the wrong word. This is a refreshing men's like cologne, body wash, aftershave sort of note to this. The bergamot kind of gives it a little bit more of that masculine edge to the scent. You do have the oak moss in this, which I adore. It is probably one of my favorite scents. Like I was actually warming, I think, an oak moss and amber scent yesterday from Not Scentsy, and I was like huffing my warmers like a weirdo. But this is one of the few scents that Scentsy has had. That's a lot of the word scent in one sentence. Okay, I'm gonna stop now. Can you tell I need sleep? Anyways, this has a really nice oak moss note that we don't see a lot in our bars, in our catalog. So if you're looking for an oak moss scent or have never smelled one that had oak moss in it, I think this would be a reasonable choice to pick up and try. If you like the sort of clean body wash, slightly masculine sort of scent, it could be a little bit unisex, but I think this definitely leans on the masculine side of fragrance. I think this is a really good choice. There is a little bit of a spiciness to this too that you kind of pick up on initially, and it's subtle when it's warming, so it's not going to smell like, what is it, like men's allspice or whatever that shampoo is called, or body wash. I don't know. I don't use that. So, but it does have that sort of nod there as well. anyways, this is another one that's in my club. I think it's a well-done scent. It's more of a medium soft performer, though. So if you are worried that this, you know, like you like cologne scents, but you don't want your house to be, like, fumigating you, I don't think this one will really do that. Some of our other scents, like Weathered Leather, for example, really will just blast you out of your house and down the street. This isn't going to do that. But it is going to be somewhat present there, so just be aware this is not... I don't think any of these were particularly light scents, maybe one of them, but that is Lake My Day. So that's the other one that's in my club. There's one more. All right, and then let's move on to Mango Matcha. So we have a mix of mango nectar and matcha sorbet topped with a slice of salted cucumber and a dash of pure sugarcane. This is in the fruity category. And yes, you get a lot of mango. The matcha is not as pronounced, which I think actually works to its benefit because matcha can be a very strong, somewhat in-your-face sort of scent note. So I'm kind of glad that it's not quite as overwhelming and that the mango takes center stage. But you do get that blend, and it kind of keeps things in balance, so it's not just a straight-up fruit scent, and it's not just like a tea-based undertone matcha note. I like it. I think it's one of our better mango scents that you can choose that doesn't really transform too much over the course of its warming. It stays fairly consistent. I'm looking at you, Mango Pineapple, or whatever that one's called, Pineapple Mango. That one is like... starts out brilliant, and by the end, you're just like, oh my god, get it out of my warmers. This one kind of stays consistent through its warming, so that's one of the bonuses for this one. If you like mangoes, this is a very, very, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's 100% accurate, but it's pretty close to being authentic in terms of the scent characteristics. Unlike some of our banana scents that I don't know who thought they smelled like real bananas, but they must have been bananas. Yeah, no, this is a pretty solid scent. It's a great performer, solid. It's more on the stronger side. It's not in my club, but I do enjoy it, and I would definitely warm it again. As I have like half of a bar to warm. Of course, I'm going to warm it again. All right, moving on. So the next one is the final one that is in my club. Out of like the 10, I picked 3 that I really liked. And this is probably my favorite of them all. This is Mountain Sunset. I think if there was a standout bar for this set of 10, this would be it. It is so good. I'm actually warming it today because the rest of it, because I was just like, nope, can't wait any longer. So this is described as take in the view over wild bluebell and warm woods as coconut and golden amber fill the air. And you get all of that. 100%. You get a nice woodsy undertone. You get the hint of coconut. Definitely get some amber in there. And there's a slight sort of floral note in there that doesn't overwhelm you, but kind of balances it out. So this is a very cozy scent. It's kind of like, I think I described it earlier in the cold sniffs as kind of like the spring, summertime, like more fresh version of Cozy Cardigan. It's like the non-rose version of Cozy Cardigan. So you have that blush sort of cozy cashmere, you wrap yourself in a fresh blanket sort of vibe to this, but there's a freshness to it as well, and it's not quite as suede heavy. So if you're a fan of Cozy Cardigan, I think you'll really enjoy this one. It's a nice take on it. And if you're not familiar with that one, or you were not super fond of like the rose note or in that, this may be something that like you prefer in that case, because there is no rose in this scent. There's just a light floral from the bluebell. Great performer. No problems with this one. You know it's there, but it doesn't like beat you out of the house. It's fairly romantic. It works pretty well in just about every room. But then I guess I'm kind of biased too because I really enjoy this fragrance. So that is Mountain Sunset. Next we have Peace Lily Be With You. Where is it? Oh, that's right. It's a green packaging, but it's a white bar. Tricked us. So this is white peace lily and green apple harmonized with watery greens and a touch of vanilla. So when I first smelled this on cold, I was very like, caught off guard by the green apple scent. It was like very much green apple and not a whole lot of floral. You do get that when it's warm. You do get the green apple. It doesn't just magically vanish. However, it kind of mellows out a bit on warm and becomes less of a green apple heavy scent and more of the green apple bringing a fresh watery note to this. So it kind of accentuates the watery green component and makes it even more juicy rather than necessarily just being a green apple floral, if that makes sense. So on warm, again, this is more of a very watery, very like fresh, splashed, watery, floral, white floral sort of scent. You do get the peace lily note, and it kind of is kind of enhanced by the green apple, but you definitely will still get a green apple note in this. And if you're looking or you're very sensitive to apple scents, you will smell it. So just be aware of that. As much as it's a fresh floral, it is still fruit heavy in the background, I guess. But it's a great performer, performed well. Again, I didn't really have too much problem with performance on most of these bars, so that was a huge bonus, and I'm thankful for that because sometimes that's not always the case. So that is Peace Lily Be With You. Next, we have Raspberry Hibiscus Tea. A warm cup of wild raspberry and hibiscus petals sweetened with a spoonful of elderberry sugar. So let's talk about this scent. So I love this on cold. Love, 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 love. You get a lot of the wild raspberry. You definitely get elderberry in there. And you do get some hibiscus, but it's not front and center. However, when you warm this, you do pick up a little bit more of the bitterness of the hibiscus floral. So be aware of that. I think it's still a well-balanced scent, but where winterberry apple tea kind of tends to be a sort of neutral scent, it's not too sweet and it's not too like spice or tea noted. This one stays more balanced towards the sweet side, but with a bitter undertone. And I think for me, it's more of a fact that I am not a particular fan of hibiscus by itself in general, that it kind of throws me for a little bit of a loop there. Now, that being said, I do like this scent. I don't think I love it though. And I will also say that when it warms, it almost, at least at certain points in warming, it felt almost a hint on the medicinal side. And that could be the elderberry component coming out, because I associate elderberry with like the gummies or the, you know, the, what is it called? Oh my God, syrup that you can have, you know, it's like a health sort of thing. But just be mindful that while it is a tea note in here, it does kind of have a slightly bitter floral undertone from the hibiscus. So the raspberry definitely offsets it, but be mindful, especially as the raspberry kind of teeters down over the course of the day, the bitterness comes up a little bit more because the hibiscus tends to linger a little bit longer in terms of scent notes than the raspberry or fruity note to this. But that is raspberry hibiscus tea. Good scent though. Soak and Raise is next. This is Feel the Sunshine as Bright Mandarin and Orange Flower Bask in Ocean Air. And I was not thoroughly, like, wild about this scent on cold. I'm still not particularly wild about it. Right now, it's kind of giving me, like, public restroom vibes. Which sounds terrible. But let me tell you, talk about, if I could name one bar that transformed the most from cold to warm, I think it was this one. I went from being, like, on the fence to, like, I don't know if I want to ever really warm this, to being really pleasantly surprised by this on warm. So, this actually mellows out. Some of that ocean air calms down. You get a little bit more of the mandarin citrus note to this, and the floral note come out a little bit more, and that sort of, like, carpet fresh Febreze vibe that you smell from, like, the ocean air ozonic notes on cold mellows out. It kind of like wanders away, and you still get this lovely fresh tone, but it's like a fresh, slightly citrusy, I don't even know how to describe it. It just like really brightens up the space, and I was thoroughly impressed because I didn't really want to warm this for a while. And then finally I was like, okay, we gotta get this one too. And now I'm on the fence as to whether I want to put it in my club, to be very honest with you. Now, that being said, this is not one that I would necessarily reach for over a myriad of other bars that I own, but thoroughly impressed, pleasantly surprised, great performance. Again, medium strong even. And if you're looking for something to clear out some stuffiness in a room and give it like, you know, a breath of fresh air, this will actually quite well, like, it will do the job. So, anyways, I can recommend this. I actually, yeah, I don't know if this will go in my club, but I have the season to figure that one out. That is Soakin' Rays. Now then, moving on, we got 4 more. Why do I only have 3 bars here, though? Where am I missing one? Oh, no, there's only 3 left. I just can't count. Whew, I need some coffee. All right, next is Sugar Blossom. Sugar-dipped golden blossoms adorn a shimmering fusion of sugared citrus and vanilla. So this is in the bakery category. Lord only knows why. If I had to place my bets on it, I would say that they put it in there because they ran out of space on their formatting for the other categories. And they were like, well, it has sugared in there or something like that. So we'll just call that bakery. This is not a bakery scent. This is a warm, gentle citrus floral. It's a sweeter floral, mind you, because of the vanilla and the sugared citrus note rather than just straight up citrus. But it is a soft, it's almost like sun-drenched florals. That's like the best way I can describe it. Like they're giving this eloquent description here, but it's like when you're in the garden, it's like mid-morning, the sun has like warmed the flowers up, but they're not like scorching from the midday sun. You still have a little bit lingering hint of the morning mist or dew that's been sitting on there, and it's just like that sweet floral and a golden warmth to it. And that's where the citrus really kind of kicks that up a notch and gives you a little bit more warmth in there, but it's not like sun-kissed citrus where it's just like straight up oranges in the sunshine or something like that. I think this is a beautiful scent. Of all the scents, this is probably one of the softest of the 10 new ones that we have. It's still fantastic. Still performs pretty decently for a medium soft scent. And you definitely know that it's there. But compared to some of the other ones, it's not as smash in your face. And it's more of a subtle, like, consistent fragrance throughout the day. That being said, again, it performed quite well for me. I was very surprised. And I, again, did not get any really bakery sort of vibes from this. It's a stretch to call this a bakery scent. I could see it being called like a perfume-based scent, but bakery is really pushing the envelope a little bit. So if you are curious, I would say that this is definitely not a gourmand, cloying bakery sort of scent, and that you'd probably be okay trying it. All right, moving on. Tropic Nectar. Tropical fruit nectar gets even sweeter with the coconut milk and the coconut milk with coconut milk and golden agave. Yes, so this is a fruit punch scent in its core. It's more tropical based than some of our other ones that we've had in the past or even in the catalog to compare it with. It is definitely a little bit more punchy and fruity, and there's a bit more tartness to this fragrance. It could be because of the agave. It could be because it's the tropical fruit nectar versus just fruit nectar. The coconut milk gives it a little bit more of a richness, and that probably brings out the tanginess a little bit more. So it becomes like a creamy, tangy, not quite tangerine, like creamsicle or orange sort of creamsicle-y vibes, because it's not really vanilla or anything that's hyper creamy. But it nods slightly to that on the undertone. And then majority-wise, it's more of like a tart, tangy, tropical fruit punch. It's a decent performer. I felt like it didn't have as much staying power as I would have expected from a fruit punch scent. But that's not necessarily the bad thing, because sometimes fruit punch scents get a little bit just out of control. And you're just like, oh God, please stop, turn it off. This one never kind of reached that level, but it did, like I said, get a sort of tangy tartness. And it was a little bit jarring at times. I wouldn't say that it was a bad scent, but it was definitely a little bit like, what's that smell? What's going on? Sort of moment. And again, I wouldn't mind finishing up the bar. I would probably warm this again. I don't know that I would go out of my way personally to get it, but if you like fruity scents, if you like slightly tangy, fruity, citrusy scents, if you like fruit punch scents, try this one. It's different than your traditional fruit punch. I will say that much. By how far? Again, it's not like a crazy deviation, like this revolutionary new twist on fruit punch scents, but it is nice and it is different from some of the other ones. So, last but not least, we have Woodland Meadow. This is woodland wildflowers flourish beneath a beautiful forest canopy and an air of bergamot and amber. So, this is fairly true to its name. It is a little bit soapy. Like, it smells... I go back and forth between, I feel like, whether it's a little soapy or a little powdery. But it's on the borderline of both of those two. You do get a sort of green wildflower vibe, but it's not particularly floral in nature. It's more of like a fresh greenness rather than florals like sweet pea and jasmine or honeysuckle or anything like that, like Descript. You get more of the green lushness, but it's not a dewy, aquatic, watery green. It's more of a... I hate to say dry green sort of scent, but it's kind of like grassy adjacent, where it's not a grass tone and it's not a grass note, but you know how grass can have that sort of either really dewy effect, but more often than not, it's like more of a drier green. It kind of gives me almost like an herbaceous green tone, where it's not so juicy and fresh, but it's still a green note. You do get like a forest tone to this. So think of if you took something like, I'm trying to think of like Rustic Lodge, probably even Route 66. Route 66. Is that the one I'm thinking of? Or Echo? I always get those two confused. I think it's Route 66. It's a green bar. Route 66. It's kind of like a softer variant and a slightly less fresh variant of that. I felt like that one was more like watery, a juicy body wash adjacent a little bit. This is more like subtle and away from like that watery aquatic tone. It's like you're sitting in you know, with Julie Andrews on the hilltop meadow in the middle of the forest. That makes no sense because she was in like Switzerland or whatever, so that doesn't actually clock. Actually, was she in Switzerland? Now I'm gonna like sound like a buffoon. I should know this because I music directed that one time, but it was a long time ago. Anyways, it smells a little bit soapy, smells a little bit woodsy. It's not a scent that I would go rushing to get personally. It also kind of gives me a little bit of like a talcum powder vibe to me. But it would be a great bathroom scent. It's also, I think it would be a great, just like if you want things to be kind of cleared out and kind of get like a neutral, fresh sort of scent. I think this would do the job. But I don't necessarily think that I am like head over heels over it. It just, I don't know, it's giving me like clean room vibes, but not in the... we open windows and there's a fresh breeze of air. It's more like clean room after you've finished Febrezing and carpet shampooing and like all the things. And then it's like that lingering, like sort of clean, not quite chemical, but sort of chemical scent left behind. That's what I get a little bit of that in here too. Again, it's not a bad bar, and I feel like I'm giving it a little bit of a disservice with my descriptions, but I'm trying to be as, like, accurate as possible to what I was experiencing, and I don't want to be like, oh, yeah, it felt like I was out there and petting a moose when I wasn't. So, yeah, the best thing I can say, the closest to sum it up would be, like, more of a soapy, slightly outdoorsy, fresh cleaner scent vibe. And I'm going to leave it at that because I've talked way too much about this bar and I don't even like that much. All right. So in summary, my top 3, I definitely think banana leaf and bamboo is worth a shot, even if you're not necessarily a big like fresh person or not like huge on bamboo. I think Lake My Day is great, but if you're not like on the more masculine side, cologne body wash edge to things, or if you hate bergamot, you probably won't be as wild about that scent. And then Mountain Sunset is definitely like out of the 3, by far, like leaps and bounds my favorite. And I'm smelling it right now. It makes me so happy. As for the rest, I don't think you really could go wrong with any of them, which is kind of a rare thing for me to say because normally I have far stronger opinions on at least one of them. And really, none of them just stood out as overwhelmingly offensive to my nose, which is a pleasant surprise. Again, some were a little bit more exciting than others. I was a little underwhelmed by Tropic Nectar. I was a little bit underwhelmed by Woodland Meadow. You know, I think overall, though, it's a solid lineup. And if you're feeling bold and ambitious, I would honestly suggest you trying all of them. I think they all bring something different to the table from one another, even if they might be similar to other things that we've had in the past or in the catalog currently. So hopefully this was informative. Let me know if you have any specific questions in the comments below. I'll try to answer those as well. I hope you enjoyed. If you're new here, consider subscribing. I will see you guys in the next video, and I hope you have a wonderful week. Take care. Bye.